Over at the new camp, Matt, discuss.
Yeah, tough night for Newcastle. Really disappointing second half. Really, as you know, the first leg they were fantastic. Probably deserved to hang on at the end of that game. And then first half tonight they were fantastic. Really good, great performance. Carried out everything I'm sure the manager asked of them, and just come undone in the first 15 minutes of the second half. And they've been punished and they go out of the competition, but they can go out of it with their heads held high. They've been really good throughout it. Probably exceeded expectations, if I'm honest. And I'm sure, knowing the group as I do, they will use it as fuel for the fire to continue into the big game at the weekend. But also in the future, it will be something that they use to really fuel that fire for later on down the line and try and compete at this level again.
How hard is it for a team like Newcastle getting into the Champions League and having to deal with playing so many times in the week when they're not used to it?
Yeah, it's so difficult due to the volume of games and the squad. When you're building that squad, and you see Aston Villa going through a similar process at the moment, they're building their squad and not yet do they have the resources of Man United, Man City, Liverpool, and that's a real challenge. The travel. Asking players to play 3 times a week, travel all over the world. It's a real challenge and something that they learnt a lot from in the first Champions League campaign, and I'm sure again in this one they'll reflect on it, learn from it, and be stronger moving forwards.
Take us inside the dressing room. What does Eddie Howe say to his boys now?
Only positivity. You see the disappointment, of course, in the body language of the guys, but they will use it, as I say, as a sort of marker where they're at. Okay, we've grown a lot in 4 years, but can we keep growing? Can we keep improving individually and collectively, and perform at the highest level? Because in the second half tonight, we've seen that there are certainly levels. And
does he need the board to back him now?
Yeah, I think it's so difficult for the board, though. I have empathy for Villa. And Newcastle, I was lucky enough to see the club grow so quickly in a short space of time. But it's so difficult with the rules now, how you can spend money, when you can spend the money. Selling Elliot Anderson's one of the best young English talents of this period of time. And people probably think, maybe Newcastle missed the trick there. Newcastle knew that. They were forced into selling an amazing prospect, and that's the difficulty really for Newcastle. You can imagine Elliot Anderson would have been a great addition for the squad today, but he couldn't be because of the rules and regulations. So that's the big challenge for Newcastle, to try and break that barrier to really become a top 4 team.
How frustrating is it when you're probably the richest club in the world and you can't spend a bean?
Yes, it must be awfully frustrating. It means that I have to think a little bit clever and outside the box. I think that they've made some good additions of late, and although there are players that at the moment there are question marks on their heads. If you look 2 years ago, there were question marks on Lewis Hall's head. All of a sudden he's the best left back in the world. So you have to take context, you have to give time, and the manager and the staff's reputation for developing players, as you know, whatever age, is very successful and very good. So I'm sure he'll do that with the guys that they've recruited already, and they'll go into the summer window with plans, I'm sure.
Liverpool, who have booked their place in the Champions League quarter-finals by beating Galatasaray 4-0 at Anfield, 4-1 on aggregate. Sue Smith has been watching all evening long. Vintage Liverpool, vintage Mo Salah.
Oh, Jess, they were absolutely brilliant from start to finish. They were outstanding, very good individually, but collectively as a team. They just didn't give... You could say Galatasaray didn't perform well, but I think Liverpool stopped them from performing. I think the way that they played off the ball, I think the way that they were so organised defensively, they pressed from the front. Every time Galatasaray tried to play the ball out, they were winning the ball back early. And it was 0-0 for a little bit, and I thought the only thing missing is a goal from Liverpool. And then we saw Szoboszlai outstanding. What a finish to start them off from a corner. And him playing in those central areas, I think, makes such a difference for Liverpool. He's such an outstanding player. Of course, he can play right back, but I just think you miss his legs and you miss his quality in the middle of the park when he doesn't play there. But, yeah, Mo Salah... Could have had more, probably could have had 5 or 6 goals.
Misses a penalty,
Yeah.
recovers from that to score an absolute worldie and mark his 50th Champions League goal.
Which is brilliant. And it was just, like you said, it was just typical Mo Salah.
It
The
was.
finish was so good. And there's a lovely little touch from Wirtz as well, who was brilliant on the night. But he picks the ball up on the right-hand side, plays the ball into Wirtz. It's just a lovely flick from him. Takes a touch out of his feet, left-footed, and just curls it into that far corner. It is just Mo Salah. When you think of Mo Salah and you think of his goals, that's exactly what you think of. But, yeah, they were brilliant. And, you know, there's been a lot of criticism of late, and I think after the Spurs game, where I think quite a lot of people were saying, well, they should be winning that game. Spurs are going into it not in form, and, you know, there was a lot of pressure under Tudor. They had lots of players missing. And Liverpool drew that game, and there was, you know, a few boos at the end of it. So
this is the response
this is
that
exactly
Arne
the
Slot
response.
would have wanted to see.
Yeah.
And the fans as well.
Of course, and the fans, from the word go, were really behind them. And at the end, you know, You'll Never Walk Alone was round the stadium, and the atmosphere was outstanding. And that was because they played with a different tempo, a different intensity. That's been something I think that, you know, Liverpool fans have been...
What if I told you one night at Anfield just changed the entire mood around Liverpool? Haha, yeah, Reds, from boos after the Tottenham draw to pure European electricity. This was the kind of night that reminds everybody exactly what this club can still be. Liverpool came in trailing 1-0 from the first leg, under pressure with critics circling Arne Slot, and then, boom, a 4-0 demolition of Galatasaray, a 4-1 aggregate win, and suddenly the Reds are marching into the Champions League quarterfinals to face Paris Saint-Germain. That is not just a result, that is a statement. And let's be honest, the biggest thing wasn't just the scoreline, it was the feeling, the tempo, the aggression, the hunger. Reuters described Liverpool as turning on the style with high energy and clinical finishing, and that is exactly what we saw. Dominic Szoboszlai opened the scoring in the 25th minute, then the second half exploded with goals from Hugo Ekitike, Ryan Gravenberch, and Mohamed Salah. This wasn't survival football. This was Liverpool grabbing the tie by the throat. And can we talk about Mo Salah for a second? Because this man missed a penalty, shook it off, kept demanding the ball, and still ended the night with a stunning goal that brought up his 50th in the Champions League. That made him the first African player ever to hit that mark in the competition. Yeah, that is elite mentality. That is why he remains one of the biggest big game players this club has ever seen. He misses, he resets, he punishes you anyway. Vintage Mo. Proper vintage Mo. What really got me, though, was how Liverpool won it. This was not random chaos. This was structure with fury. The press was sharper, the defensive line was organized, and every time Galatasaray tried to settle, Liverpool swarmed them. Official match coverage and post-match analysis both pointed to the way Anfield's energy and Liverpool's front foot football suffocated the Turkish side. This is what supporters have been craving. Less sterile control, more punch, more directness, more belief. When Liverpool move the ball like that and attack with conviction, they are a nightmare to live with. And this is why that TV reaction you showed matters so much. They said vintage Liverpool and vintage Mo Salah. And honestly, that nailed it. Because after the Spurs draw, there was real frustration, real noise, real doubt. But this performance was the perfect answer. It was the response Slot needed, the response the fans needed, and maybe most importantly, the response the squad needed to prove to itself that there is still a serious team in there. Reuters said the win gave Liverpool a major confidence boost in a difficult domestic campaign, and you could feel that release in the stadium. Now the next test is brutal. PSG in the quarterfinals. No easy route, no hiding place, no soft landing. PSG crushed Chelsea 8-2 on aggregate, so this is going to be a heavyweight fight. But here's the thing, Reds. Nights like this are why belief comes back. If Liverpool can bottle this intensity, this pressing, this speed of combination play between Salah, Soberslai, Ekitike, Gravenberch, and the rest, then they can hurt anybody. Maybe not comfortably, maybe not consistently yet, but on a European night under those lights, absolutely anybody. So my feeling is simple. This was more than a win. It was a reminder that Liverpool still have elite weapons, still have Anfield, still have that ability to turn pressure into momentum and doubt into noise. Was it perfect? No, but it was powerful, it was emotional, and it was exactly the sort of performance that can relight a season. And if the Reds carry even 80% of that into the next few weeks, the conversation around this team is going to change very, very quickly. Now I want to hear from you. Was this the real turning point of Liverpool's season? Can the Reds take this level into the Premier League and into that PSG showdown? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button, and subscribe for more Liverpool news, reactions, and pure Red passion. YNWA.